Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build yourself a pale garden castle. Originally this tutorial was actually meant to be a starter house, but you'll notice pretty quickly in its filming, yeah, I got a little carried away. But essentially, if you ever wanted to live in a secure compound in the pale garden, well, here's the base for you. Fit it out with a nice little basement, then you can go up, have a bunch of other areas, including an interior with whatever you need, then you even have some wheat and a bedroom. And along with that, you can display all your valuables in a nice tower in the middle. So, without further ado, let's investigate how we'd go about this. Starting off, you need an area of the Pale Garden to be deforested. And you can see this is a huge hassle. Over here, I tried doing the same thing, but simply put, that area just wasn't going to work. So right here, you can see all of the tree stumps because of moss. It's a really annoying biome to work with. Because not only do you have the fluctuations of the meadow, but you don't even have the unique height advantages of the mountains or the nether. And you even have these dark oak trees, but they have extra decorations on them, which makes it even worse, and then you can't work at night because of creaking and all that stuff. So basically, just flatten out the area. Pay no regard to the moss for now. You just need to flatten it out, get rid of all the grass, the flowers, etc. And then, once it's flattened out, you'll have a much better area to build in. For a typical YouTuber jump cut, I set up a large portion of the base already. However, this is actually only some foundational stuff. So, don't be worried, you're probably going to be worried anyways. But now, you can see the walls right here. I incorporate some chiseled tough bricks on the bottom. Then I do some tough, and you can see on the outside, there's some walls too. I mean some stairs, so that way it looks a bit more interesting. And then a chiseled resin brick in the middle, and then the top block. Now, I have a more interesting wall, and yeah. Then, for some foliage, I included some pale moss blocks under there, then pale oak leaves, and put some resin on them in order to make it look like they had fruit or flowering or something like that. However, that's going to come much later on. In fact, I recommend making your back wall, if it's very long like this, make it jut out a little, maybe a few blocks out, add a separate structure onto it, something to make it a bit more unique, even if it involves cutting down a bit more forest. But with that out of the way, you can see 3 segments of wall. I do a nice little segmented pattern because it looks nice and it's easy to do. It can get a little unoriginal, but in this sort of scenario, it works perfectly fine. And then, whenever I want to change directions, I do a circle. These will become towers, and they'll have resin brick roofs in order to stand out. However, that's going to come a little bit later. And then, for now, we need our entrances. I want to put all the entrances on one side. Of course, make sure there's still a way to get in from the back. Who knows, maybe that area right here is actually a separate door. Something like that in order to make it a bit easier to get in. But anyways, you can see a nice resin brick pathway with some chiseled resin. Nice stuff in here. And then these parts will go down under because, well, you kind of need an underground portion if you don't want to destroy the entire Pale Garden and you want this to be livable for more than a few days. And now, I have a centerpiece here, and there's not much else to put here. You could put a fountain, something like that, but for now, I'll leave it blank. Your biggest step should be setting up the walls around. And for the towers themselves, leave them generic, undetailed. Maybe go 12 blocks into the air, a little bit higher or so, especially for these back ones. You can make those ones in the front a bit shorter. Make them tall, and then I'll add in some extra details to them, which you can replicate, and then we can start doing the roofs on them. For this centerpiece here, where all the walkways converge, you can see I have a little watering hole. Here's a quick look on how I did it. Tinted glass, black concrete at the bottom, then some normal resin, and then copper grates, preferably waxed. And then you can see right here, I have a little bit of podium, some walls, some more walls, etc. And now I'm left with a couple grassy areas. It's up to you whether you want to use them for anything practical. So if you can somehow fit something in here, go right ahead. However, chances are I'm going to use them for decoration and stick all agrarian activities to the underground section. If you had to cover up an area, then a lot of the excavation's already done for you. And these areas here, this is going to be part of the porch of the main house, and essentially just a few staircases down here, nothing too crazy. You should use some tough walls though. And then you can see not much else to say. Continue building your towers, continue doing the walls, etc. And then you'll have more and more of the build complete. These areas here, who knows? You can turn them into little sapling areas, gardens, etc. Or you can make them into wheat. While more decorations are added, it's now time for the towers, since it turns out you kind of need those in order to build the walls correctly. Right here, you can see it's actually quite basic. I have a standard foundation here, no decorations, although I do recommend adding some later. And then, this open area here, a little bit of a railing. The inside should be left blank for now, whether you want to add spiral staircases, ladders, or nothing. Room light right here, and then a walkway between them. I recommend connecting these together the way my cursor is moving, but don't do this part. That would get in front of the build. Then connect these two together. This provides nice vantage points, and when combined with the flooring here, which is actually stripped pale oak logs, you can see they're changing directions to add a little bit of depth. Now, we have some walkways. Finish this wall here minus the extra resin on the bushes. And now, I can continue doing this, mirror this onto the other side, add a walkway back here, and then I can start doing the walls in their entirety, make them a bit taller, cooler looking, etc. And then, once you have all that done, your walls will be complete, your towers will be complete, and then we can move on to the house. Right here, you can see I've now completed the walls. Nice resin decorations on the bushes to make them stand out. Right here, just do some plain tough. I forgot to do that, but anyways, more tough decorations, chiseled all the way through, and then I have the entrances, widened up these pieces a little, and then you can see it's symmetrical. I added the bridges, and what do you know? This place is looking really good right now. But there's something that's missing when it comes to the nighttime version, and that's a little bit of lighting. Sorry to mobile users, typical mobile user forgetfulness from my end. But something you might want to do is maybe add a little bit of lighting. And while hiding a shroom light right here, yeah, you wouldn't see it from the bottom, but listen, that's not going to work out when you see it from the top. So perhaps hiding a few candles behind this would work better. So here's what I recommend. I'm going to get some black candles, and then I'm going to get a fire charge or whatever firelighting tool you prefer. And then candles, and what do you know? If someone does look at it, yeah, a little bit of depth behind there. You can make it a different color if you want, but from the outside, what do you know? Free lighting. Well, it's not free. Bees are quite annoying to work with sometimes, but still, the point gets across. Hide some candles behind these windows of varying colors, and then we can start moving on to this area, where you can walk forward and go into the base. You have bubble elevators, or you can take the side paths to immediately go into the basement. And you can see right here how much I've been hiding from the build. Yeah, because I don't have world edit in this version. Yeah, this whole place is kind of a mess because structure blocks. But disregarding that, it's time to start building the actual base. I recommend 2 porches on either side though, so that's a good place to start. Simple pale logs or just pale planks would work here, and then we can connect it to this main building right here, which will be part of a fortress and might even connect up to these bridges. Right here, you can see assorted candles inside the windows, which makes sure this place is nicely lit up. And then from here, the bushes, decorated. And now it's time to move on to the actual structure. I already built half of one of the porches, and this area here, maybe you can just turn it into a quick way to get down to the lower levels. But otherwise, here are a few things that I recommend. Well, first off, by this point, you should have removed all the immediately threatening creaking hearts, which means you should be able to build at night now. And then, what I recommend doing is this back piece here. I filled it in with tuff, added some chiseled resin, made sure it's an entrance. These 2 areas can be ways down. And what I want to do is make the roof completely resin, just like this. And then I can merge it into this pathway here, note the insides, and then this can connect to the building itself. In the middle of the building, basically where I put the door earlier, I know I didn't talk about that, but now you should be building a little staircase up and then build a door. The palette isn't important, you just need a door. Then, I spaced it between the bridge, door, put a circle, which is roughly the center of the base. Technically it's one block off, I might fix it, who knows. And this will be a big tower. Essentially, what I want to do is connect the front, right here, to the back, and then put a tower piece in the middle here. And then, once you have that tower piece, basically build a larger version of one of these towers, except we can actually have an interior this time. Otherwise, you want to basically just put out a normal floor plan. I know it's a little cramped in this spot, so you might have to do a few minor changes. Maybe this floor just doesn't exist because of that. But still, you should make it so there's a tower and that the front and back of this build connect together, so that way we can basically build a castle in here. Progressively, I have now filled out more and more of the base, connecting these roofs back here. I plan to just flip this side onto the other side, hence why there's no progress over here. But otherwise, the central tower is coming in quite nicely. And you can see some more designs to this. I just throw a bunch of stairs and slabs together, sometimes a few walls if I need to go a little cooler. Make sure that it's a little more in depth than this, because you can see this side was exceptionally boring. So if it all ends on the same layer, maybe you need to make some parts hang down a little like that. Although there isn't much depth to it, as in it's kind of hard to tell where the blocks are, I think that's perfectly fine for this. That's just a general thing with the tough palette. Maybe make some continued changes here and there with extra walls and such, but otherwise not too important. All that you really need to know is this part, you might want to make open, so that way you don't have to have some sort of spiral staircase or ladder right here because that would be awkward for the lower floors. Instead, maybe have a ladder inside these two rooms and then have it be elytra access only, and then stick something like some diamonds in here. Maybe only your treasures, something you wouldn't need to access often. Anyways, with that in mind, continue building stuff up. Right here, I changed the pale planks to resin. Up here, did the same, and then I removed some of these walls here, so that way there's easy access. And now, you can see, just fill in these areas here, add a door, I'm gonna add another floor here, and piece by piece, well, it's getting built. And then right here, for this roof, I made sure to make some parts have little jut outs, because otherwise it was just gonna be a bit too boring. And pay attention to some of the designs I do. Right here with the stairs embedded in order to fill in those tiny gaps. And then right here, more resin. I repeat this quite often. So pretty much, you only need a few unique designs, and then with those designs, you can start making more interesting things. And one final note, make sure that these have spiral staircases or ladders inside of them, some way to access this bridge. Right here, you can see the two sides are mirrored onto each other, and I have basically the entire exterior completed at this point. The only things you might want to touch up are some of these pillars if they don't have decorations on the outside, making sure that areas like these have a little bit of something going on, although that's more of an interior job. And then, with all this, well, you can say you have the exterior completed. Right here, I have a little bit of dirt so that way I can plant stuff, alternating between blocks and stairs. Tried putting something here to make it less lonely with this tower, but didn't really fit. If you're watching this in advance and not building as you go along, perhaps you can avoid that. Then, right here, because I didn't know what to do and had a very bad idea, I made a very creaking shaped window. This was a terrible idea, it doesn't even fit, but it's so cheesy I had to keep it in. And then we have our generic details, and we can till these. Make sure to put pillars underneath water sources. And then for this area, I excavated a little, and then I did minor amounts of work in here. You can see a bunch of doors, lanterns. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to fit the floor plan in here, but honestly that's kind of the beauty of the build. I have no idea what I'm doing in here, so it's going to certainly be unique. So with all that said and done, well, you have your tower here, you have the diamonds and gold, so now you have something cool. You can even have the book. Oh, someone corrupted all the data again. better start rewriting again. But with the book aside, well, we have this whole area, and we can start either down here or with the actual entrance. I prefer to go with the actual entrance, and what I really have to say here is basically place down pale planks, and then connect up places as you see fit. Avoid ladders when you can. Use big staircases when possible. Then, if that doesn't work, try spirals and then go to ladders or bubble elevators. Bubble elevators should be a last resort unless it's for an area that you've already specifically designated, like right here, copper grates, shroomlight. I think it works completely fine in here. Quick way to get up and down. You don't even need these sections anymore and can relegate these gardens to something a bit more useful if you want. But with all that jargon out of the way, place down some pale planks, have some stairs to make sure you can get around, and then make sure that your ceilings aren't blocks that are on the outside. Essentially, we shouldn't be seeing this bridge, we shouldn't be seeing the underside of dirt. Right here, the interior is complete, and the tutorial is now finished. For a quick look around the interior, you can see this lower level, although it doesn't have any connections anymore to the upper levels, still has easy access by falling down, another portal down there so you don't have to listen to it, and a nice checkerboard sandstone pattern. You can see some barrels here, chests. I use bamboo mosaic as a placeholder. Essentially, how you're meant to use this is you replace the back block with whatever you're storing here. Dirt, make this dirt. Gold, well, maybe not make it gold, make it yellow concrete or something. You can make it the colors. If it's something more miscellaneous, then put a general block you dissociate, like I'd probably store my flowers with something mossy, melony, stuff like that. And then back here, a few basic utilities. Along with this, I put a decorated pot, flower pot, then dead bush. Back up here, you can see normal entrance. These porches are empty. You can put chairs on them. I'll probably do that post-production. And then right here, I ended up not doing anything with this because I just didn't want to build spiral staircases here. And we already have access in the back. And then for our main entrance, going up, and you can see how I did this. First off, I added these pillars to hide the water from above. Then added some torches and filled it up with whatever I needed. And then, of course, added little things like that, minor decorations, things you'll need for actual survival. And then, going over here, brewing, you can also hide some water in the walls using stairs, so that way you have a permanent water source. Spiral staircase, nothing really to talk about here, it goes up. And there's also another one right here because simply there wasn't enough room. You can take a quick look around on what I do, like the looms and chiseled bookshelves, but this still gets level 30. Maybe even sneak a barrel in here, so that way you can store some lapis and then do a grindstone as well. Bed right here, bunch of diamond armors, which may or may not be villager sourced. You know, the cheap stuff. And then we have the rest of the build. You can fill it up with whatever. We have the treasure room up here, only accessible by elytra, and we even have a little podium for whatever you want. Which means this build is finished. Yeah, I definitely wanted this to be a starter base. It is quite evidently not a starter base, but hopefully it's still a useful build, even if it's a little bit scope creeped. And with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe, it really helps me out. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.